Well, good morning. We're going to be looking at ministry leadership. And the book that I like to use is one by Oswald Sanders. It's called Spiritual Leadership. This is an older version of it, so I put the newer version up on the screen. But what I like about this book is that it covers a lot of things. Oops. And okay. I just have to get used to the delay. All right, that's cool. So so it covers a lot of things about leadership that'll help the students get a better perspective on what ministry leadership is all about. We've all heard about being a leader. We've maybe offered positions of leadership to those in our congregations or just whomever, and everybody likes the concept of being in a leadership role. However, when you're looking at the responsibilities of the leader, it's like, oh, well, if I have to do all that, then never mind, right? But this allows you to give a broader, get that big picture of what ministry leadership is all about. But when you receive a syllabus, the seminary gives a lot of books as suggestions that you can use as a textbook. This is just one that I like to use just because of the broadness of the topics that it gives. But when people hear about being a leader, they normally think about being the smartest, the one that never fails, right, has it all together, right, and the one that gives orders. You do this, you do that. That's why everybody likes leadership positions, right? Oh, I want to be a leader because I can tell people what to do. That's not what ministry leadership is all about. Ministry leadership is about showing, right? Where it's like, oh, well, that changes everything, right? That changes the game. So leadership, when you look it up in the dictionary, it's the capacity to lead, right? It's not about being the smartest in the room. It's not about giving orders, right? It's about having the capacity to lead others. So here's a nice quote from Dwight Eisenhower. It says, you don't lead by hitting people over the head. That's assault, not leadership, right? Leadership isn't about, you need to do this, and we're hitting people over the head with it, right? No, that's called assault, right? So leadership is about having the capacity to lead others. And the way we lead others is by showing them. So when we're teaching this class, a good thing to help our students understand is what it's going to be like being a leader. So it helps when we help them with certain areas of leadership, like self-awareness. Right? We want to teach them to be self-aware, right? Understand how your behavior impacts others. Right? Sometimes we don't understand how our behavior impacts others. We're so used to our own behavior, we think it's normal. However, other people look at us and they're like, what's wrong with you? It's like, oh, this is just who I am. It's like, well, you need to change it. Right? So we need to be self-aware, especially in ministry leadership. Successful leaders are going to help others up. Right? We're going to show them. But leaders that fail, well, they're the ones that are going to be like, hey, look what I did. Right? Get off my podium. I accomplished this. Look what I did. Look what I planned with my team. Look what right? And it's all about the I. So leaders that fail are going to be concentrating about what they do. And we want students to understand that the I needs to be cut out of the equation. It's not about I, it's about we. Look what we were able to accomplish. People may hear your words, but they will feel your attitude. So what does that look like? What do you mean people are going to hear my words, but they're going to feel my attitude? Well, there's a commercial that I really like. I thought it was funny. that kind of exemplifies the people hear your words, but they feel our attitude. And his demeanor completely changed once the attitude was, I really don't think you have potential. And so when it comes to telling people something like, I think you have potential, but they see him as like, no, you don't. Right? It's hard for them to really get on board with being a leader. So ministry leadership is all about making that adjustment, making sure our words coincide with our attitude. So that's the attitude, right? That's that being self-aware. So we want students to work on their self-awareness. How are my words different from my attitude? Right? What's my attitude saying about what I'm doing? Have you ever seen somebody say, oh, I'm really excited to be here, but like their facial expression, like, are you sure? Because I don't think your face knows that you're excited to be here. Or maybe you heard someone say, wow, when I came to Christ, my life completely changed. I've never been more happy in my life. Right? But their attitude, right? Their facial expression, their body language is one of, how I miss not being a Christian. Oh, I had so much fun. It's like, right? Your words and your attitude, right? It isn't mixing, right? It's different. So self-awareness, how does our attitude affect others? We have to be aware of that. Also, we can work on communication. That's a real big one in ministry leadership. Communication is key. Communication is everything. Right? Make sure ideas are understood. Right? Have you ever tried communicating something that's very clear to you, but when you try to communicate it to somebody else, it's like, I don't understand why you're not understanding. It's real simple. Let me explain it one more time. And we explain it the same way, and it's like, yeah, where are you going? I don't get it. And it can kind of look like this. So when we give an idea, we want it to be clear to everyone. Right? So they had been discovered by another submarine. So the captain of the submarine was like, okay, here's what we're going to do. I need you to make whale noises. Because that particular guy had been talking about how he had practiced and he had gotten really good at making whale noises, right? Sounding like a whale. So when they had been discovered, he was trying to get them, make the whale noises, maybe that'll work. Maybe they'll think we're a whale and leave us alone. But trying to get that idea across kind of took some time, right? Even when the other guy tried to jump in, like, oh, I understand what you're doing. Like, that's not what I mean at all. Sit down. Right? Have you ever been explaining something to someone, and someone says, oh, I get the idea here. Let me try to explain it. And they start explaining it, and you're like, no, you don't get it either. No, please go away. When it comes to ministry leadership, communication is really key. Right? And we have to make sure that everybody's on board. Everybody has the idea that we're trying to convey. Because when we give an idea, and people say, okay, I got it. But then everybody has a different idea of what we meant, well, now it's going to cause problems. Right? So we want the students to understand communication is key. Right? Don't assume that the other person understood. Right? Like, have you explained this? Oh, well, I'm sure they'll get it. They're smart enough. Well, they may be smart, but we should never assume. Also, a key in leadership that we want our students to understand is influence. What they do and what we do as leaders influences others. right? Be willing to persuade, promote, and delegate. This one here, sometimes it's hard to do. That means you have something that you give to somebody else to do. What society tells us is the whole, if you want something done right, do it yourself. That doesn't work in ministry leadership. Because we can't be everywhere, right? And we can't know everything, and we can't do everything. So therefore, if we don't delegate, we're going to burn ourselves out. So we want students to understand that in ministry leadership, in whatever area of leadership that you're doing, you don't want to try to do everything on your own, right? You'll end up killing yourself. You may last 3 years and it's like, okay, I'm done. I gotta retire. Retire? You mean resign? No, I gotta retire. I can't do this work anymore. Because we have burnt ourselves out because we won't delegate. Right, so be willing to persuade, promote, and delegate. Influence is another key factor that leaders need to implement. Right, because when it comes to influence, it can determine whether somebody gets that, self-esteem boost or finishes them off. Great leaders don't blame the tools they are given. Great leaders work to sharpen them. Well, so when we're teaching this class, we want the students to understand that influence is going to be key for them at certain points. Right? Poor Small, right? Nobody wanted him on the team. Like, he can't catch, he can't throw. Now, Benny was trying to give him an opportunity, and he didn't come through. So he'd be like, see, we told you, just, send him home, do something. Like, we don't want him here. As leaders, we're going to face that. We're going to face hearing those comments. Brother so-and-so, sister so-and-so, they're just, they're terrible. Send them home, do something. I don't know. It's like, pray harder for them. I don't know what we need to do, but brother, sister, so-and-so, like, they're just, so as a leader, we can't be like, something, you're right. No, we got to find a way to influence brother, sister, so-and-so to step up the game, right? To help sharpen them. It's like, what can I do to help them? Right? So once Benny helped Smalls, right, everybody was like, oh, wow, this kid's great. Right? The picture was like, something? Yeah, I knew it all along, of course, yeah. I was just teasing about that he can't play. Leadership is the ability to get extraordinary achievement from ordinary people. There's going to be times, even maybe those that are in our class, they're going to feel, I'm not good enough. It's like, I'm taking this class because I need to take the class to graduate. But I don't consider myself a leader. I don't have the skill set. Right? I'm just not good enough. God's never going to use me in a leadership role. Does that sound familiar? Moses did the same thing. Hey, listen, God, I'm not good enough. And this was God talking to Moses, and Moses was like, no. I think you meant, Moses down the street. Are you sure it's me, Moses? Leadership, being a leader, is about helping others, reach a higher level. It's the ability to get extraordinary achievement from ordinary people. The role of a great leader is not to give greatness to human beings, but to help them extract the greatness they already have inside them. People have greatness inside of them. As a leader, we just have to be willing to help them draw it out. Sometimes we see the skill set of somebody else, And we compare ourselves to that skill set. Like, well, I don't have that skill set. But I can compare myself to a basketball player. It's like, oh, I don't even know why God, let me be born, because I can't do that, right? I'm not an athlete like that. So what can I do? What can I do if I can't have that skill set? What we fail to understand is we have skill sets that someone else can't do. So it's about drawing out the greatness that someone has in them. It's like, you have greatness in you. It's like if I told you, oh yeah, I'm from Oklahoma, I'm actually on the Thunders, right? Y'all look at me and be like, no, you're not. Right? You do not play basketball. Like, I do. I just sit way down at the bench. Like, no. Maybe holding the towels, yeah, but there is no way you play. Right? One, I am not tall enough. Two, I don't have the skill set. Right? Three, and so that's how people feel. I don't have that skill set, so I can't do it. I was like, well, I've heard of great leaders, like John Maxwell. Like, but, he writes books. It's hard for me to write a paragraph. I can't compete with that leadership. But there's things that we can do that John Maxwell can't do. Because God has given each and every one different skill sets that work in where we're working as leaders. So influence is going to help. Like when we influence others to bring out their greatness, they're going to shine. Now, they're not going to shine if we're trying to draw out a different skill set. Like, listen, brother, sister, and so-and-so, I really need you to evangelize like Billy Graham. Look how many people he was able to draw in. If we want more members in our church, you're going to have to start stepping up your game like Billy Graham. Like, what? We're trying to draw something out that's not in there, right? Maybe that's not their skill set. God didn't put it in there, so you can't draw it out. We have to see, okay, what is their skill set? What is their greatness? How are they going to help us in our ministry? And draw that out. Also, as leaders, we need to understand learning agility. And we need to help our students understand that too. We need to be agile in the way we learn. Be able to recognize when it's time for a change. Right? There's things that maybe you've tried, you've planned for something, you carry it out, and it just didn't work. Normally, what do? Let's try it again. Right, step one, plan the same thing. Step two, carry out the same thing. Step three, same result. Well, you know what they say, 3 times a charm. Let's try this again. Well, we got to know when it's time to okay, this isn't working. We need to change it up. Right? As a leader, it is important to have the flexibility to adjust your style to the audience you are leading. Sometimes the reason why it's not working is because it's the wrong setting. It's like, oh, this doesn't work for this particular setting. That would be like me coming up here. It's like, well, I lead a bilingual congregation. Most of them know Spanish, so I'm just going to stand up here and talk in Spanish. Everyone will get it, right? Some of you are going to raise your hand and be like, excuse me, there's a problem. You're glitching. Right? We need to understand where we're at. and be able to make adjustments to help the people where we're at. We've all seen a clock, right? Like there's one in the back of the wall, right? We all can tell time. But what if somebody decides to put up a clock like this? It's like, what time is it? Oh, you want me to do math? No. You want me to do chemistry? Now, we can all figure it out because we're like, okay, well, if it's a clock, then I can just put the numbers where they're at and pretend like I know what this is all about. Right? And, you can get clocks like this. Right, if you're like a chemistry nerd, if you love chemistry, you'll probably get a clock like this. You really like, like, oh, that's fantastic. But if I take it to somebody who doesn't like chemistry, they'll be like, what is this? I don't know. How am I supposed to learn to tell time like this? It's like, come on, so-and-so can read it, why can't you? Right, we're like, well, I'm not so-and-so. Right, if you want to do math, maybe if you're kind of like a math nerd, if you're really into math, maybe you like one of these, like, oh yeah, those are easy to read. The thing is, we can all read them because we've all seen a clock before. Right? So we can just plug in the numbers and be like, oh, so X equals 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Oh, so you know that equation? No, I just know that 4 goes right there. So I know that's 4, that's 5, that's 6. Not that I can actually solve them, I just know where the numbers go. So if we go with something like this, maybe where we were at, this worked. Now we're somewhere new, and we try to implement this, and everybody's like, oh, wait, we're lost. Oh, I need to change it. That's that learning agility. Know when we need to change things up. Know when something isn't working. And be able to either make adjustments to it or just let it go. Like abandon it altogether. Okay, this isn't working here. The ability to learn is the most important quality a leader can have. In other words, as leaders, we need to keep learning. Yes, I know, I just brought everything down. Right? I was like, oh, this was an exciting class, and now you just brought it down. Right? I was learning so much, and now you're telling me I need to keep studying? Oh, yeah, I'm out. But as leaders, we need to continue to learn because things change. I'm sure we've all seen the change in society. We've all heard words that's like, wait, what did you say? I was like, well, I said this. Well, what does that mean to you? Oh, it means this. Like, wow, when I was growing up, that's not what that meant at all. So like, okay, so now words are changing, right? Definitions are changing. So we have to learn that and be able to make those adjustments, all right? How am I going to make my leadership adjustment to reach these people, right? To influence this person, to help this person. There was a time when going door to door and asking people, you have 5 minutes for me to tell you about this great gift that God gave us. People would say, yes, I have 5 minutes. What is this great gift? Try that now. It doesn't work as well, does it? We've all experienced that. We knock on somebody's door. Do you have 5 minutes? I don't got time for you. I don't know who you are. Please leave. Okay, that's not what I was expecting. Or the moment they answer, they're like, hi, I'm so-and-so. Yeah, I'm not interested. And they just close the door. Oh, okay. What happened to those times when people would actually take 5 minutes to listen to what you had to say? Well, it's changed. But if they're like, you know something? I'm not going to change my style. This is how I'm going to do things. I've always done it this way. I'm going to continue doing it this way. It's like, we're not going to be very effective. We're not going to influence the way we need to. So we need to have that learning agility. all right, we need to change things up. All right, this isn't working anymore. Let's change it up. What do we need to do? So we need to make sure that the students understand that in ministry, there's going to be times when something works. It may work for a year, and then all of a sudden it's not working anymore. So be able to say, okay, well, it's not working anymore. What adjustments do we need to make? As a youth leader in my church, something that's I have found very, I don't know if amusing or maybe frustration or just unique. I don't know if anybody has worked with youth before, but I have worked as a youth minister for quite some time, and normally youth tend to be very, or they used to be, very on point. And what I mean is that when they found something they liked, they stuck with it. They're like, oh yeah, we like that. Let's keep doing it. It's like, all right. Nowadays, I find that I have to change every Sunday. You know, I started doing like the class with a PowerPoint. First time I did it, the kids were like, oh, this is fantastic. This is great. I like how, you project the stuff. Awesome. I was like, great, I found something they liked. I did it next Sunday, and they were like, it's all right. So I'm like, well, maybe they're tired, they are youth, maybe they just weren't feeling it that particular Sunday. Third Sunday I did it, they were like, this again? I was like, don't you know anything new? Like, okay, wow, so apparently I got, my margin of error is one Sunday. That's all I get. Like, okay. So now I have to, go back and okay, well, they like the PowerPoint, but apparently 3 Sundays in a row is overkill, right? What I give it, what I blame, because it makes it easier to process, right, and not go home and cry, is normally technology, like apps. Nowadays, you can get information quickly. If you don't like something, just scroll past it. Like, yeah, okay. There was something called Vines. Now it's like they changed it because okay, we don't want these little short videos, right? So Vines was just an app where you can upload a short video. At the most, it was 10 seconds long. So it was called Vines. I think now it's called TikTok or something like that. Yeah. It's the same thing though. They're like, why would you show a 5 to 10 second video? That's awful. Let's do something else. Hey, we present TikTok where you can show 5 to 10 second videos. Oh, that's awesome. Like, wait, what? For me, I'm like, you're doing the same thing, you just change the name. But kids would look at those oh, that's funny, and they just they wouldn't even last the 5 seconds. They would say, oh, I've seen that one, that's funny, and they just keep scrolling. Oh, that one's no good. And it's almost like that's what it is. Like now in Sunday school, it's like, oh, we've been in Matthew before. Can I scroll past you? It's like, is there a way to scroll past the sermon? Is there a way to scroll past this study? So the learning ability got really small, which now makes our job even harder. Because making disciples is not like a 5 to 10 second thing. So now as leaders, we have to have that learning agility to be like, all right. So if I normally have maybe 5 to 10 seconds, how can I present the gospel in a compelling way in 5 to 10 seconds where people are going to be like, oh, tell me more. Okay, well. Have you ever tried that? Try to share the gospel in 10 seconds. I'm like, whoa. He's like, wow, that's different. But our learning agility has to be one where we have to be able to make adjustments. How can I get somebody interested in something in a short period of time if I need to. So we need students to understand that. Don't get discouraged if somebody says like, oh my goodness, you're still talking, it's been 11 seconds, and you're still up there. Right? Don't get discouraged. Keep going. Find a way to captivate someone's attention. So I want us to go through 3 tips that can help our students succeed. Now, one is to be honest about the challenges. Oh, you should be a leader in this particular ministry. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be great. God is going to bless you. I mean, you're going to go home and rejoice all the time about the greatness that God is doing in the ministry through you. But we don't tell them about the challenges. Right? There's going to be challenges that it's kind of like math. Right? You have the simple ones. Very easy. You get this problem, not a problem. 1 second, I'm done. I can go home and rejoice. Right? There's going to be that type of challenge. Some require a little more effort. Okay. Solve for X. All right, not a problem. A little more challenging. It's going to take a little more time, but I can get it done. And then there's those challenges that they start getting like, what is this? Right? It leaves you kind of going, what? I didn't learn this in seminary. Right? Maybe something like this. Solve for X. Can we go back to that last problem? I like that solve for X better than this one. Right? Or people come with problems and it starts looking like this. What? Right? And you're like, what's going on? So, and then, like, if you understand this, maybe you can explain it to me, because I don't get this. Infinity, but then you take away infinity. So why did I put it on there? Anyway, it's all right. It's okay. And then you start throwing in Greek letters. Okay, what is going on? And then maybe you have that one problem where it's like all the numbers are gone altogether. Are we still even in math? Because we learned that numbers are infinite. You'll never run out of numbers. Well, apparently they found a way to run out of numbers. Like, how'd you do that? Okay. So we need to be honest with those challenges. You're going to have challenges that you're going to go home and cry. But don't give up. Right? Don't give up. Pray. Keep looking for that solution. Keep looking for, how can I help? What can I do? How can I continue to be the leader I need to be to this person? Leaders think and talk about the solutions. Followers think and talk about the problems. We want our students to understand that when problems arise, don't focus so much on the problem. Right? Know the problem and then start working on the solution. Right? What can we do? How are we going to solve this problem? So we want our students to understand that as a leader, once you receive the problem, you start working on the solution. Right? Don't focus on the problem. When we focus on the solution, it's going to look something like this. Also, provide support to specific needs. we want the students to understand that specific needs don't need a generalized sense of support. They need specific solutions. I think we've all heard, or maybe even we ourselves have said it. Somebody has said, I have this need. Oh, I'll be praying for you. Well, that's nice, but how are you going to help me with it? We're like, oh, that's your problem, not mine. So I'll be praying. That's my job, all right? I'll pray for you, and then good luck on the rest. It's like, no. We have to be willing to provide support to a specific need. A true leader has confidence to stand alone, the courage to make tough decisions, and the compassion to listen to the needs of others. So if we're going to provide specific solutions to a specific need, we need to be willing to listen, not hear. Be able to listen. So we want to teach our students to be able to listen. Right? Have you ever told something to someone and they looked like they were listening, but all they were doing was hearing? A good indicator of that is when you repeat it and they say, yeah, I heard you. I know you did, but I need you to listen. Wait, what? See? See, when we do that, and all of a sudden it's like everything changes, right? That communication begins to open up. So there are going to be specific needs, and we need to be able to listen to be able to provide the right support for that specific need. Provide the right solution for that specific need. So a good way to look at it is even as leaders, we're going to have specific needs. And we want our kids, well, I say kids because now you know that I work with youth, but we want our students to understand that, everyone has specific needs. One thing that I tell my congregation, because I work the double shift. I'm the senior pastor and the youth minister. So it's like, well, that's challenging. Right? When you have kids that are like, you need to be quicker. Like, okay. So I make the adjustment, I'm quicker, except that I forget the transition when I go to the adults, and they're like, whoa, you need to slow down. Like, okay, wait. So I need to slow down, I need to speed away. Oh my. They're like, wow, that is a challenge. Over here I'm being told go faster, over here, go slower. It's like, oh, we're good. So we all have specific needs. So as a leader, we have these areas that we really need to develop. And we want our students to understand that. Be able to develop in how you do things. Not so much outwards, but also inwards. Right? You'll need to work on your character. Right? You'll need to work on your authenticity. Right? You'll need to work on your influence. Right? You'll need to work on your performance, your results. Like, how are you doing things? Sometimes we think, well, as a leader, people respect me, and all I got to do is show up. Nope. Right? You'll need to work on your abilities, on your skills. And those are your abilities and your skills, not someone else's. It's like, oh, God gifted so-and-so with evangelism. Okay, well, let me see if I can get to that level. It's like, God gave us, each and every one of us, abilities and skills of our own. Let's work on our skills first. So as leaders, we need to constantly be working on these things. Right? Especially over here. Because over here, is going to affect everything else. Right? Sometimes we try to be authentic, but it's like, well, that's because if I was really authentic, then, I don't know, people may not like me. So I'll just kind of tweak it a little bit. When it comes to our character, we don't need to be tweaking. Like in a way to just project something that we want people to know. We want to make sure we're authentic. Right? We want to make sure that we're honest with someone. Right? If someone is doing a poor job, and they ask us, how am I doing? Is there any way I can improve? Oh, no, you're doing a great job. Fantastic. Right? We need to be authentic. We need to be honest. Like, well, I think you could do better. How can I help you? What can I do to help you so you can do better? Because right now it's almost like you're not even preparing. Right? If we're working in ministry leadership, if you're a Sunday school teacher, and you show up to class, you're like, all right, today, well, we get out our leader's manual. Today we'll be looking at, let's see, okay, here it is. Sunday, oh no, that's not it. That's next Sunday, sorry about that. Oh yeah, here we go, okay. This Sunday, okay, we're going to be looking at, we're going to be in John chapter 3, right? The class is going to be like, you did not prepare at all. Right? You did not take the time to prepare the class for us. So the message we have now sent is, you guys were not important to me for me to bother to prepare during the week to teach you. So this should be good enough for you. Right, so like, all right, so John chapter, okay, now the author of this particular study says that this is one of the comments he puts, right, and we just start reading it off. And then we need to be authentic. Right? If you're the Sunday school director and you see the Sunday school teacher doing that, you need to be able to say, excuse me, can I talk with you for a moment? Why are you reading to them like they're children? They can read. It's like, what you need to do is you need to teach them. It's like, so you need to be able to prepare. It's like, well, it's because I don't have time. Then why did you say yes when I asked, are you willing to teach this class? Oh yeah, I'll teach it. Like, because you're not teaching, you're reading. It's like, if you didn't have time, just be honest with me. Don't just say, I would like to, but I really don't have time, and I think I wouldn't study, and I'd just be reading. Like, all right, cool, not a problem. That's what authenticity does in the leader. That's what we want our students to understand. When you're in leadership, you need to be authentic, you need to be honest, you need to work on your character. Not so much for others' benefit, but also for yours. It's like, if you're authentic with yourself, you're going to be authentic with others. The third one is also help the students see the value of learning networks. A lot of people look at learning networks, or just networks, as a way to get their foot in the door for something better. Right, so normally when we hear about networking is, okay, who can I meet that'll benefit me? I was like, okay, well, it's like, man, if I can only find a way, find the right connections to get me connected with the President of the United States, oh, that'd be so cool. Let's see, who can I meet? The thing is, when we're looking at learning networks, It's about who can I meet to help me improve? Who can I meet so that we can work together in improving each other? So we all have a piece of the puzzle. And when we start doing a learning network, we start putting the pieces together. Sometimes we just like the whole, well, it's because see, I'm like the Lone Ranger. I was like, I know it all. I've been doing this for quite some time. There is nothing I don't know. Now we just made ourselves God, right? Like, oh, someone like way up here. It's like, whoa. But it's always interesting that the Lone Ranger, although he was called the Lone Ranger, he had help. It's like, well, now you're not the Lone Ranger anymore, but okay. They're like, sure, if that's the premise of the show, it's like, I'm the Lone Ranger, but sometimes I need help. Like, okay, sure. But the learning networks help us to improve because there's going to be things that we don't know. But when we met somebody, I was like, oh, I remember so-and-so. So-and-so had a similar problem. I'm going to give them a call. He's like, hey, so-and-so, I remember we were talking and we met such and such day. Like, oh, yeah, I remember you. Yeah, well, I'm having this particular issue. And I remember you told me that you had gone through an issue and it's quite similar to what I'm going through. What advice can you give me? He's like, do you have a few moments where we can talk and I can just pick your brain and maybe you can help me think of a solution for what problem I'm going through? That's what the learning network does. So we need our students to understand that having that learning network is going to help them. Being a ministry leader doesn't mean you know it all. Right? It doesn't mean, okay, all eyes are on me, so I should know it all. It's like, no. And nowadays, with the advancement of our technology, it makes it easier to develop a learning network. Because we can be connected all over the world from our living room, right? From wherever. Right? We can connect with people that aren't even in the same country. Right? We can connect all over the world now. Developing a learning network has now become real simple. It's real easy. Right? Before the internet, there was, the only network you had were those that were in your state. And maybe just even in your town, that's it. That's all you get. Unless you went to a conference somewhere and met other people, it's like you can only meet people by going somewhere. Like actually physically going somewhere, that's the only way you're going to develop a learning network. Now you can develop a learning network from your computer. Right? These are things that we want our students to understand. Like, you can connect all over the world. It's just a matter of doing it. But with that, we also want our students to understand that there's going to be things that they're all going to have to work on, right? We all have to work on them. There's 8 flaws that will turn us into a leader that fails, right? 8 flaws that will lead to failure, right? Because we want our students to understand that success isn't one of those things that just happens, right? You're going to have to work at it. And so with that, there's things that we're going to have to adjust. So as a leader, you have to make sure you understand yourself, right? Again, that's self-awareness. Understand yourself and make sure you can make the adjustments. So one is indecisiveness, right? as a leader, we don't want to be indecisive. Right? When they come to us, hey leader, we're having this situation. What do we do? Well, why don't we just take a time to pray and kind of meet? We can, maybe we can meet together next week. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you had heard. The main water line has busted and there's water seeping into the sanctuary. What do we do? Where's the shut-off valve? Listen, our Father in heaven, if you can find the shut-off valve, like, we can't be indecisive. Sometimes we gotta take action immediately. And so when people come to the leader, they just expect the leader to be decisive. One thing that I've learned is, as long as I don't kill anybody, just being decisive in something is like, it's okay. Like, I'm going to do this, like, okay, well, that was, like, bad decision, but at least I didn't kill anybody, right? It's like, okay, it's all good. We can fix things as long as we didn't kill anybody, right? We just can't be indecisive. So if we have that indecisiveness, if we know that about ourselves, yeah, well, sometimes I get indecisive. Oh, well, that's something I need to work on. Because as a leader, I can't be indecisive. Also, another thing, we can't be stubborn. Right? Don't be stubborn. Right? Sometimes we want to be stubborn, but we can't be stubborn. But we got to make sure our students understand that as a leader in ministry, do not be stubborn.
Hey, Carla, I don't know why everybody's looking around at other people.
I was like, where's they been looking at me? Sometimes it's okay to be stubborn in a certain setting, but we have to understand that stubbornness. Like, it's okay to be stubborn in sharing the gospel. Right? When other people are like, no, don't share the gospel. You can't do that. You're offending people. Stop it. Oh, okay, we need to stop. No, it's okay to be stubborn there. It's okay to be stubborn in standing up for Christ. It's okay to be stubborn in standing up in doing God's will. But it's not okay to be stubborn and, well, this is the way we've always done it, right? Because after all, we're Southern Baptists. We always do this, and that's the way we're going to do things, right? We are not going to change it. Sometimes we're stubborn in our order of service. Have you ever gone to a church and the order of service is a little bit different? Have you ever got a little bit annoyed by that? Right? You sit there and it's like, they're starting with the sermon. These people are heathens. Oh my goodness, they need Jesus. I'm like, what? Like, what? Right? That's just being stubborn. Right? No, listen, I don't know who the director is. I need to talk with them. There's an order of service that we need to follow. Right? You start off with the welcoming. Right? Then, pay attention, write notes. Then you have a song, one song. Then you can do a lecture reading if you want. Or you can put that forth. That's the only thing that you can actually adjust. That's it. It's like, no, see, now we're just being stubborn. When we're stubborn like that, yeah, no, we need to change that. So, don't be stubborn. Also, don't blame others. Oh, that's easy, right? We like blaming others. Some people like being leaders because they get to blame others. It's like, no, that's not what leadership is all about. Right? If we're the Sunday school director and the pastor says, I need to talk with you. I have heard that our children's, teacher isn't really teaching them. They just kind of entertain them and, can you please talk like, oh, well, That is not my fault. I don't know. That's not on me. Why don't you talk with the teacher directly? Don't blame me, right? Then I gave them instructions. If they're not following the instructions, that's not my fault. Right? We like blaming others. But it's something that we can do. Right? And we need to make sure that our students understand that. That when you're in that leadership position, don't blame others. Right? If there's something that went wrong, if you're the leader, just kind of participate, well, not so much participate, share the blame. It's about sharing. Like, I'm the leader, I don't know what happened, let me find out. It's like, well, that's not on me. That was Johnny right there, and it's all Johnny. Right? No, why are we blaming Johnny? Another flaw is the not delegating. Now, we covered that a little bit. When we need to delegate, as leaders, we need to delegate. Because when we don't delegate, what ends up happening is that those that we lead get the idea that the leader has to do it all. So as leaders, when we finally decide to delegate, we're like, well, what are you asking me? Isn't that your job? You're the leader. You're supposed to do it. Why are you asking me to do it? If you're going to be lazy, then maybe you shouldn't be a leader. It's like, I'm not being lazy. It's like, I'm just delegating. Now, delegating doesn't mean make everyone do everything. No, that's not delegating either. Delegating is, we have 10 things to do, and there's 5 of us. So we need to find a way to accomplish these 10 things with just 5 of us. Sometimes we need to pull somebody else in. It's like, well, that gets complicated. We might need some more help. Well, no, let's get some more help. Right, but that, sometimes we tend to get stubborn. It's like, no. I'm the leader. God called me. I can do all things through Christ who empowers me, right? He gives me strength. He's going to give me the strength to do all these 10 things by myself. Good luck. Right? That's not going to work. We need to be able to delegate. Also, don't overreact. Right? Don't overreact. Sometimes as leaders, right, we might tend to overreact over something that's really not that big of a deal. Excuse me, leader. We need to clean up in the sanctuary. One of the kids is sick and they threw up on our new carpet. What? Who brought in the sick kid? Oh my God, listen here. If your child is sick, please do not bring him to church and have him throw up all over a brand new carpet. Do you know how much this carpet's worth? I should make you pay for it. Like, don't overreact. Like, it's fine. You know, kids are going to make messes. That's fine. Not a problem. It's just carpet. You know, we can clean it up. Right? But when we overreact, that's going to kill everything. Right? Those parents, maybe it might be a visitor. They're coming in. And for all we know, that family is going to church for the very first time. That family is going to hear about the gospel for the very first time. And then as leader of maybe building and maintenance, right? We're the custodian. We come in with, can you please take your child and have him, we have a perfectly good bathroom right there. I can't tell you. Why would you let him throw up all over our new carpet? That family is going to be like, oh, man, I didn't realize that a sick child was going to cause such a problem. Maybe this isn't the church for us. Well, come to think of it, you know, if our churches are like this, maybe we were right the first time not to go to church. And we've just killed something that God could have touched their hearts, God could have impacted their life, but because we overreacted, we just now killed something that God was going to do in their life. So overreacting is something that we need to help our students with. Is that if you tend to overreact, you need to work on it. Bias or favoritism. Right? That'll kill the ministry as well. That kills you as a leader. Right? Sometimes, I don't know if in school you heard when the teacher said, if you didn't bring enough candy for everybody, please put it away. Right? Maybe you brought candy for you and your friend. Well, everybody knows, well, of course, since they're friends, of course they brought candy, not for everybody else, because apparently we're not friends, so fine. But that's the same message we can send out as leaders. When we do something for someone else, but then not for others, well, people will pick up on that real quickly. And they're like, oh yeah, of course, because you guys are buddy-buddy. Since I ain't your buddy, right? I just deal with your own problem, okay. But we have to be honest with our students on this area as well. Because something that, as leaders, we're going to face is that everybody thinks you're showing favoritism even when you're not. That's something that's really tricky. Because if you invite a family to eat, right, you have a plan. So like, okay, what I want to do as a leader is I want to get together with, right, let's say we're the Sunday school director. I want to meet with the families of each of my teachers and just get to know them better. So we invite, okay, so let's see, I have 5 teachers, that's 5 families, okay. And so we make out a plan. So first Sunday, right, we invite the first teacher. Hey, I want to, take you and your family out to eat, and just get to know, just have a good time and stuff. The other 4 families are like, oh yeah, show them favoritism. They're your favorite teacher. Okay, we get it. It's like, you don't understand my plan, just chill. Second Sunday, we take up the second teacher. That first family, like, oh, we're not your favorite anymore? Okay, I'll see you found new friends, all right. Like, listen. He's like, okay, so maybe should I take them all after you? But I can't do that. Right? Our pockets aren't that deep. If you have those kind of deep pockets, hey, meet me after class. I'd like to be your friend. No. But that's what tends to happen. Right? People tend to think that someone else is the favorite when it's not like their turn to be invited or something. So as a leader, we want our students, like, you're going to be faced with that problem. But once again, don't overreact. Right? Once again, try to keep your cool. Because after all, you're the leader. You have to show them, no. Even if it's a matter of like, well, what if I try this adjustment? I'll get together with my teachers and just tell them my plan. It's like, I want to get together with each and every one of you. You and your families, so I'll be inviting you to a lunch. And so, we can kind of get together. Now, everybody's on the same page, right? Now, nobody's going to feel that, oh, how come he's taking them to lunch now? Right? Oh, now we're going with them? Like, huh. But we have to be careful with showing bias or favoritism. Because we may tend to fall into that. Like, something, after eating with these 5 families, well, this family had so much to talk about. The other 4 just kind of looked at me like, I was gonna get onto them for something they did wrong, and I was just trying to like have fun, start a conversation. They were like, "So, when are you gonna start yelling at us?" What? I'm not. I just want to invite you to lunch. I'm like, you sure? So like, well, instead of hanging out with these four, I'll just hang out with this one. That's when we have to be real careful. Because again, we can set up our ministry for failure when we do that. Also, vague or empty promises. I think we've all experienced vague and empty promises. One of the examples I can think of is when somebody says, "We'll see." You remember as a kid when you're like, "Hey man, can we go to McDonald's today?" And you're like, "We'll see." Oh, that means no. Like, why can't you just tell me no? And instead of giving me that small sense of hope that, we might go to McDonald's today, and then like the day passes, like, we didn't go to McDonald's. Right? That's a very good empty promise. It's like, we'll see. So we have to be careful that we don't give vague or empty promises. What if somebody comes to us as a leader and says, "Oh, I was thinking of this particular curriculum, and it's something that I think that can really help our church. Is there a way that we can, sit down and look and go through it and make sure that it will help our church? Because I've been reading it on my own, and I mean, it's impacted my life, and there's a lot of great ideas, and I think we can use it." And as leaders, we say, "Oh, that's fantastic. We'll see." Like, "All right, great. Here's the book. All right, thank you." And then we put the book away, and who knows where it ends up, right? Vague or empty promises. And the last one is incompetence. And that's one where we don't know how to do the job. We know we don't know how to do the job, but we try to pretend like we know how to do the job. Yeah, no. Because that'll definitely kill it. A Sunday school director may see the potential in somebody and say, "Would you like to help us teach a kids class?" Now the person tends to think, well, the leader's asking me to do it, so yeah, not a problem, I can do it. Even though they're like, "I've never taught a class before, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but if you say no, they're going to kick you out of church. So yes, not a problem, I got it covered." Right? And then they're looking at, okay, well, here's the material. Oh, wow, this is, right? And they start looking at that material like some of those math problems we were looking at earlier. Like, what is this? As leaders, when we're incompetent of something, and we know we can't do something, it's best not to do it. Because then we're not going to lead people, we're not going to be able to influence somebody in how they need to do things. I can add a ninth one. That's like my personal one. It's sarcasm. You have to be real careful with sarcasm. I know that from experience. Because I'm one that I use sarcasm a lot. I'm not one to tell jokes. Now, if you know my dad, if you ever met my dad tells jokes. I don't tell jokes. I don't know how. I try to tell jokes, and people are like, "Is that the joke?" Yes, that was the joke. And I'm going to go here now. Nice to meet you. But I'm really sarcastic. And as a leader, I know that I need to work on that. I need to know what level of sarcasm to use, when to use it, when not to use it. Because if I use it at the wrong time, in the wrong place, ooh, that's, right? That's a time where it's like, God, if the rapture is going to happen, let it be now, because I really need to leave. I'll tell you an experience I had on how to control sarcasm. I was in a meeting with other pastors, and it was just a lot of us Hispanic pastors, and we were going to do a block party. And so we went to our convention, and we were talking about the different things that we can do, how we need to set up, and all of that. Right? We need to talk about when we're going to do it, how we're going to do it, how we're going to do the outreach, all of that. So towards the end of the meeting, we have pretty much everything squared away. And one of the leaders there of our convention said, "There's something that you guys are missing." And we're like, "What are we missing?" And we kind of looked at our notes and said, "If it's going to be an all-day event, people are going to need to use the restroom." Like, oh, yeah, thanks for the heads up. Like, we were so busy planning, like food and, things for the kids and, the outreach, we completely forgot about bringing in a porta potty. Right? We're going to need to have restrooms. Of course, goofy me, with my sarcasm, if you've ever been to Hispanic countries, there's people who they really have no sense of shame or whatever, and they're like, "I'm going to use the restroom, so I'm just going to go right here." And you're like, "Oh, okay, that's all right. That's different." So I bring light to such a thing in a meeting where the guy that had made or that brought us the attention that we forgot the restrooms was the one who was going to approve the financial aspect of this block party. So I said, at this park that we've agreed on, there's going to be trees there, right? And everybody's like, "Yeah, there's going to be trees. We got the restrooms covered." The Hispanic pastors began to laugh because they knew, if you go to our countries, it's like, come on, we need to get it together. We need to stop this. It was funny for 1 second until they saw the guy that was going to be providing the finances, approving the finances, not laugh and have this look of, "What'd you just say?" They went, "Ha ha." To which I went, "Ooh. And God, rapture time, where you at?" And so he looked at me with this serious look on his face and said, "You can't do that here." I was like, "Yes, I know. I was trying to make a joke. Sarcasm was too high for the meeting." He's like, "I need to scale it back." Right? There are things that are part of our character, of who we are, that sometimes can kill things. You may have some that maybe are not of this 8. You may be like, "Yeah, I got a 9th one too." But there are things like that as leaders we need to be careful with, and we need to help our students understand that and be able to work on it and how we do things. I'll share this one last aspect of being sarcastic, and it happened with my niece. They came to visit, and she must have been maybe 3 years old at the time. And so they wanted me to tuck them in. So I was like, "Well, all right." So, I went in and I tucked in my nephew. And then my niece, tells me, Tio Carlos, can you help me? My blanket's all twisted up. So me, once again, goofy me and my sarcasm, I said, you're all twisted up. So, right? Funny, haha, no. She went, why would you say that? And began to cry. I was like, oh no. Like, no, just. So my nephew says, why is she crying? It's like, Tio Carlos messed up. My mom hears her cry and comes into the room, looks at me, didn't even ask what happened. She just said, what did you do? I'm like, what? Really? It went directly to, what did you do? She knew I did something. I was responsible. So there are things that are part of us that we kind of need to refine, especially when it comes to ministry leadership. And so we'll end with this last quote and open it up for questions. The only place success comes before work is in the dictionary. So we need to make sure that our students understand that to be a leader, especially in ministry, you're going to have to put in the work. Right? There are no shortcuts. All right, so are there any questions, comments? None? All right. Yeah. I must have done a fantastic job. Now, so I'll turn it over to you, Brother Haynes.